Welcome to, or welcome back to, the Agatha May Detective Agency. I'm Agatha May, and in this episode, I will be introducing a new series that will delve into the case of Crystal McCrory Jones. I've only recently learned of Crystal's death, but the more I've learned about it, the more I've realized just how shoddy the investigation was, and I recognized how closely aspects of Crystal's case parallel the Micah Francis case. Crystal was born in Crossett, Arkansas, but her childhood was spent in Bastrop, Louisiana. Bastrop, population 8,989, is the parish seat of Morehouse Parish. For those of you outside the U.S., a parish is the same thing as a county. Louisiana is the only state that uses that term, and while it's said that it's used because of the state's French heritage, I think it's used because Louisiana does what it wants. Crystal and her husband Tony lived in West Carroll Parish in the community of Goodwill, which is about 21 miles east of Bastrop. Crystal worked for State Farm Insurance, Tony was a handyman, and together they owned a martial arts studio in Oak Grove, which is the parish seat of West Carroll Parish. Between the two of them, they shared 4 children. Crystal had 2 grown sons, and Tony a grown son and a daughter that was still at home. According to Tony, on the morning of February 9th, 2023, Crystal woke up and wasn't feeling well, so she made an appointment with her doctor for 2:30 that afternoon. Tony said that he left for work a little after 8 that morning. Tony claimed that he tried calling Crystal throughout the day and wasn't able to contact her. He was working that afternoon at the high school his daughter attended, so even though she would normally take the bus home, he checked her out of school and they went into Oak Grove and ate at Sonic. Around 4:20, he stated that he was so worried about Crystal that he called Chuck Harris, a deputy with the West Carroll Parish Sheriff's Department that was also a neighbor of Crystal and Tony's, and asked him to perform a wellness check. Tony remained on the phone with Harris the entire time and gave Harris permission to enter the house. Harris found Crystal, aged 43, dead from an apparent gunshot wound to the head. Tony was only 15 minutes away from their house, and maybe he's just not very smart, but if it had been me and I was only 15 minutes away, I would have just driven home to check on my spouse. The West Carroll Parish Sheriff's Department was called, and they began their so-called investigation. It took them less than 2 hours to decide that the gunshot was self-inflicted. And I'm sure this is just completely coincidental, but Tony used to work for that sheriff's department, and he had also stopped by there the morning of Crystal's death. Crystal's sister Jana became immediately suspicious of the lack of investigation, and rightfully so. There are so many errors, indifference, and just straight-up lies in this case. Some of what I'll cover in this series is the complete ineptitude of the sheriff's department. Are they intentionally refusing to properly investigate Crystal's death, or are they a clump of chumps? Maybe both. I'll look at the conflicting information and all of the errors, and there are a lot. The coroner's report was full of errors. We'll listen to the statement that Tony gave to Chief Deputy Alan Irby, second Putz in command at the sheriff's office. We'll look at the discrepancies in Tony's movements that day. Why does the police report differ from what Tony said in his statement, and why does the timeline have so many changes? We'll also listen to the conversation that Crystal's brother and sister had with the sheriff of West Carroll County, Sheriff Scott Matthews. And we'll also listen to the conversation that they had with Penny Ducier, the West Carroll Parish prosecuting attorney, and talk about why she infuriated me to no end. While I don't condone revenge, I wouldn't be sad if that woman contracted uncontrollable itching of her butthole region and stepped on freshly laid dog poop in her bare feet on a daily basis. There is a lot to cover in this case. Jana has a Facebook group, Justice for Crystal McCrory Jones, and has written a book about the case. There is a petition on change.org to have Crystal's case reopened. I'll leave links for all of these in the description. In the next video in this series, we'll start with Tony's statement he gave to Chief Deputy Alan Irby, and look at how it differs from tracking software, from the police report, and even from Tony's own mouth, so stay tuned. For those of you who haven't seen the announcement, I've opened an Agatha May Detective Agency merch shop. I'll have a link to it in every video description, and there's also a link to it on the channel's About section. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe as this helps my channel grow. Until next time, stay safe and be happy.